We're seeing more mainstream adoption of cryptocurrencies, not only in business, but slowly within government as well. El Salvador became the first country in the world to make the cryptocurrency Bitcoin legal tender. Now in the United States, we are seeing a handful of cities adopt their own cryptocurrencies to make changes on a local level. There are discussions in other parts of the world to change with the times as well. In the fall of 2021, Vitalik, co-founder of Ethereum, posted a piece on his website about the potential of this recent trend. He did not stop there, he carved out his vision of how changes can be made on a local level. To utilize some of the same strategies that have made the blockchain and crypto space so successful and to give the power back to the people. Welcome to the Crypto Nights channel. If you love making money and learning about crypto, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. We drop new videos every day to keep you informed about crypto. Why crypto cities? Vitalik has been a game changer in the world of cryptocurrency. 7 years after launching Ethereum and turning the blockchain space into about much more than just digital currency, Ethereum had its breakout year. Ethereum had grown from just under $800 at the beginning of 2021 and reaching its peak of almost $5,000 at the beginning of November. Around the time of Ethereum's peak, Vitalik wrote a piece titled Crypto Cities on his site about how some of the same principles used in the blockchain space can also apply to the real world, starting at a local level. He brought up how many national governments around the world are showing themselves to be inefficient and slow-moving in response to long-running problems and rapid changes in people's underlying needs. That many governments are missing live players. He said it's easier to find a single city where there is public interest in adopting any particular radical idea than it is to convince an entire country to accept it. There are challenges and opportunities in local public goods, urban planning, transportation and many other sectors in the governance of cities that could be addressed. Cities have tightly cohesive internal economies where things like widespread cryptocurrency adoption could happen independently. It's less likely that experiments within cities will lead to terrible outcomes. Cities are regulated by higher-level governments, also cities have an easier escape valve. If people who are unhappy with what's going on, they can easily exit. Given that criticism of existing smart city initiatives often heavily focuses on concerns around centralized governance, lack of transparency and data privacy, blockchain and cryptographic technologies seem like a promising key ingredient for a more open and participatory way forward. Vitalik brought up some cities getting involved in blockchain technology. He started off with a blockchain experiment named Reno DAO. Reno DAO. Reno, Nevada Mayor Hillary Sheev is a blockchain fan, focusing primarily on the Tezos ecosystem, and she has recently been exploring blockchain-related ideas in the governance of her city. Creating a Reno DAO, governed by Reno coins that Reno residents would be eligible to receive via an airdrop. The Reno DAO could start to get sources of revenue. One proposed idea was the city renting out properties that it owns and the revenue going into a DAO. Using blockchains to secure all kinds of processes, blockchain-secured random number generators for casinos, blockchain-secured voting and more. Selling NFTs to fund local art, starting with an NFT of the space whale sculpture in the middle of the city. City coins. Then he went on to discuss city coins. City coins are powered by Stacks, a protocol that enables smart contracts on the Bitcoin network. The City Coin's first project is Miami Coin, taking place in Miami, Florida, also known as Magic City. Miami Coin can be mined or bought by individuals who want to support the Magic City and earn crypto from the Stacks protocol. Miami Coin additionally benefits holders by allowing them to stack and earn Bitcoin through the Stacks protocol. Stackers receive Stacks tokens, spent to mine Miami Coin. 70% of mining rewards are distributed to people who chose to stack their Miami Coin. 30% of mining rewards are sent in Stacks to the custodied reserve wallet for the city of Miami. The city can claim this and convert their Stacks to US dollars whenever they want. The city of Miami can elect to use its growing crypto treasury to benefit the city and its constituents, such as new public spaces, improvements to infrastructure, hosting city events, recruiting startups and more. It did not take long for other cities to get involved. So far through City Coins, Austin, Texas and New York City have gotten on board. On the City Coins website, you can even vote for your city to get involved. City DAO. He finally went on to discuss a project that he describes as much more ambitious. Creating crypto-oriented cities from scratch. City DAO, which describes itself as building a city on the Ethereum blockchain, DAO-fied governance and all. City DAO is the most radical of the experiments. Unlike Miami and Reno, which are existing cities with existing infrastructure to be upgraded and people to be convinced. City DAO, a DAO with legal status under the Wyoming DAO law, is trying to create entirely new cities from scratch. So far, the project is still in its early stages. The team is currently finalizing a purchase of their first plot of land in a far-off corner of Wyoming. The plan is to start with this plot of land, and then add other plots of land in the future, to build cities, governed by a DAO and making heavy use of radical economic ideas like harbinger taxes to allocate the land, make collective decisions and manage resources. Harbinger taxes consists of two main ideas. Asset owners self-assess the value of their asset and pay taxes on that self-assessed price. At any time, can purchase an asset from you at that self-assessed price, thereby taking ownership of the asset. Their DAO is one of the progressive few that is avoiding coin voting governance. Instead, the governance is a voting scheme based on citizen NFTs. Ideas have been floated to further limit votes to one per person by using proof of humanity verification. The NFTs are currently being sold to crowdfund the project. You can buy them on OpenSea. A transfer of a wallet owned by Vitalik Buterin confirms his purchase of the NFT that provides him with City DAO citizenship. By checking the wallet on the Ethereum blockchain, it shows an account with the identified ownership under Buterin's identity has transferred 0.25 ETH to the City DAO project wallet. This figure corresponds with the amount required to obtain citizenship in NFT format. Vitalik Buterin has a much bigger vision. Vitalik went on to discuss his own vision and argued that there are two distinct categories of blockchain ideas that make sense. 1. Using blockchains to create more trusted, transparent and verifiable versions of existing processes. 2. Using blockchains to implement new and experimental forms of ownership for land and other scarce assets, as well as new and experimental forms of democratic governance. One simple idea is the idea of governments creating a whitelisted internal use-only stablecoin for tracking internal government payments. Every tax payment from an individual or organization could be tied to a publicly visible on-chain record minting that number of coins. Transfers between departments could be done in the clear, and the coins would be redeemed only by individual contractors or employees claiming their payments and salaries. This system could easily be extended. For example, procurement processes for choosing which bidder wins a government contract could largely be done on-chain. Many more processes could be made more trustworthy with blockchains. Lotteries could serve as a fair random number generator that could be used to make government-run lotteries more trustworthy. Fair randomness could also be used for many other use cases, such as lottery as a form of government. Certificates proofs that some particular individual is a resident of the city, could be done on-chain for added verifiability and security. This can be used by all kinds of local government-issued certificates. Asset registries, for land and other assets, as well as more complicated forms of property ownership such as development rights. Putting records on-chain can still make it easier to see what happened in what order in a dispute. Eventually, even voting could be done on-chain. What are some radical economic and governance experiments that could be interesting? Vitalik then poses the question, what are some radical economic and governance experiments that could be interesting? Experiment number 1, a more comprehensive vision of city tokens. City coins is one vision for how city tokens could work. But it is far from the only vision. This approach has significant risks, particularly how economic model is heavily tilted toward early adopters. 70% of the stack's revenue from minting new coins is given to existing stakers of the city coin. More coins will be issued in the next 5 years than in the 50 years that follow. It's a good deal for the government in 2021, but what about 2051? Once a government endorses a particular city coin, it becomes difficult for it to change directions in the future. It's important for city governments to think carefully about these issues, and choose a path that makes sense for the long term. The concept of home ownership in its current form is a notable double-edged sword, and the specific ways in which it's actively encouraged and legally structured is considered by many to be one of the biggest economic policy mistakes that we are making today. Some see a home as a place to live and some see it as an investment. In communities who see it as an investment, it could cause issues with the people that just see it as a home. A resident in a city either owns a home, making them overexposed to land prices and introducing incentives to fight against construction of new homes, or they rent a home, making them negatively exposed to the real estate market and thus putting them economically at odds with the goal of making a city a nice place to live. Vitalik asks people to consider, what if we could give people a way to save and create that economic alignment without the flaws? What if we could create a divisible and fungible city token, that residents could hold as many units of as they can afford or feel comfortable with, and whose value goes up as the city prospers? Vitalik offers some ideas he believes would be a big step forward. Get sustainable sources of revenue for the government. The city token economic model should avoid redirecting existing tax revenue. Instead, it should find new sources of revenue. Create economic alignment between residents and the city. This means first of all that the coin itself should clearly become more valuable as the city becomes more attractive. But it also means that the economics should actively encourage residents to hold the coin more than faraway hedge funds. Promote saving and wealth building. Home ownership does this. As home owners make mortgage payments, they build up their net worth by default. City tokens could do this too, making it attractive to accumulate coins over time, and even gamifying the experience. Encourage more pro-social activity, such as positive actions that help the city and more sustainable use of resources. Be egalitarian. Don't unduly favor wealthy people over poor people. A token's divisibility, avoiding a divide between haves and have-nots, does a lot already. But we can go further, by allocating a large portion of new issuance to residents as a universal basic income. One pattern that seems to easily meet the first three objectives is providing benefits to holders. If you hold at least X coins, where X can go up over time, you get some set of services for free. Miami Coin is trying to encourage businesses to do this, but we could go further and make government services work this way too. One simple example would be making existing public parking spaces only available for free to those who hold at least some number of coins in a locked-up form. This would serve a few goals at the same time. Create an incentive to hold the coin, sustaining its value. Create an incentive specifically for residents to hold the coin, as opposed to otherwise unaligned faraway investors. Furthermore, the incentive's usefulness is capped per person, so it encourages widely distributed holdings. Creates economic alignment. A city becomes more attractive, more people want to park, so coins have more value. Unlike home ownership, this creates alignment with an entire town, and not merely a very specific location in a town. Encourage sustainable use of resources. It would reduce usage of parking spots, although people without coins who really need them could still pay. Supporting many local governments' desires to open up more space on the roads to be more pedestrian friendly. Alternatively, restaurants could also be allowed to lock up coins through the same mechanism and can claim parking spaces to use for outdoor seating. One excellent goldmine of places to give city tokens value, and at the same time experiment with novel governance ideas, is zoning. If you hold at least Y coins, then you can quadratically vote on the fee that nearby landowners have to pay to bypass zoning restrictions. This hybrid market plus direct democracy-based approach would be much more efficient than current processes, and the fee itself would be another source of government revenue. For those not familiar with the term quadratically voting, it is a collective decision-making procedure where each voter is endowed with a budget of vote credits to spend to influence the outcome of a range of decisions. Experiment number 2. More radical and participatory forms of governance. This is where radical markets ideas such as Harburger taxes, quadratic voting and quadratic funding come in. You don't have to have a dedicated city token to do them. Some limited government use of quadratic voting and funding has already happened. Look into the Colorado Democratic Party and the Taiwanese presidential hackathon for examples. One obvious place where these ideas can have long-term value is giving developers incentives to improve the aesthetics of buildings that they are building. Harburger taxes and other mechanisms could be used to radically reform zoning rules, and blockchains could be used to administer such mechanisms in a more trustworthy and efficient way. Another idea that is more viable in the short term is subsidizing local businesses, similar to the downtown stimulus but on a larger and more permanent scale. Businesses produce various kinds of positive externalities in their local communities all the time, and those externalities could be more effectively rewarded. Local news could be quadratically funded, revitalizing a long-struggling industry. Pricing for advertisements could be set based on real-time votes of how much people enjoy looking at each particular ad, encouraging more originality and creativity. More democratic feedback could plausibly create better incentives in all of these areas. And 21st century digital democracy through real-time online quadratic voting and funding could plausibly do a much better job than 20th century democracy, which seems in practice to have been largely characterized by rigid building codes and obstruction at planning and permitting hearings. And of course, if you're going to use blockchains to secure voting, starting off by doing it with fancy new kinds of votes seems far more safe and politically feasible than refitting existing voting systems. Vitalik's conclusion. Vitalik concludes that there are a lot of worthwhile ideas for cities to experiment with that could be attempted by existing cities or by new cities. New cities of course have the advantage of not having existing residents with existing expectations of how things should be done, but the concept of creating a new city itself is, in modern times, relatively untested. Perhaps the multi-billion-dollar capital pools in the hands of people and projects enthusiastic to try new things could get us over the hump. But even then, existing cities will likely continue to be the place where most people live for the foreseeable future, and existing cities can use these ideas too. Vitalik suggests blockchains can be very useful in both the more incremental and more radical ideas that were proposed, even despite the inherently trusted nature of a city government. Running any new or existing mechanism on-chain gives the public an easy ability to verify that everything is following the rules. Public chains are better, the benefits from existing infrastructure for users to independently verify what is going on. If strong privacy is required, blockchains can be combined zero-knowledge cryptograph to give privacy and security at the same time. The main trap that governments should avoid is too quickly sacrificing optionality. An existing city could fall into this trap by launching a bad city token instead of taking things more slowly and launching a good one. A new city could fall into this trap by selling off too much land, sacrificing the entire upside to a small group of early adopters. Starting with self-contained experiments, and taking things slowly on moves that are truly irreversible, is ideal. But at the same time, it's also important to seize the opportunity in the first place. There's a lot that can and should be improved with cities, and a lot of opportunities. Despite the challenges, crypto cities broadly are an idea whose time has come. We hope you enjoyed this video today. What do you think about Vitalik's vision of crypto cities? Do you agree with some of his ideas? Do you believe it can be done? Do you think it could end up like he suggests? Would you add or take away any ideas? Let us know in the comments. If this video provided you some value, please like and subscribe. It would mean the world to our channel. If you have any video suggestions or comments, please let us know below. We love feedback. We appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.